Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello and welcome people to Footy JUDGEMO. Listen, we're here to talk about Osimhen are off for Chelsea. Demartius said Chelsea are moving for Omorodion or Accordion or whoever you want to call him. Is this the right move for Chelsea Football Club? Mark Solanke, does he strengthen Spurs to the point that they can be in for the top four? Is he enough for Spurs? And Federico Chiesa on the right winger or the left winger for Liverpool has been offered. Is it the right move? And also at the same time, listen, you got to talk about Julian Alvarez to Atletico Madrid. Are Manchester City losing a little bit? Yes, they are making money, but can they replace Julian Alvarez? If you are here now, hit that like button before you go on and enjoy the show. I'm here with Dan, of course, and if you're watching this in the replay, the first thing you do is hit that like button, people. Help the channel. Get your comments in, get your thoughts in. I'm here with Dan. We'll talk about it all, but we have to start in my opinion, we have to start with the Julian Alvarez move. He's going to Atletico Madrid. But first, before we go on, hit that like button. Let me ask, how are you, Dan? How's everything with you?
Yeah, very good, very good. Stuff's heating up in the transfer market, so it's good to see. I feel like we've been waiting ages for news like this. So yeah, let's get into it. Pleasure to be on the show, Mo.
Yeah, yes. Listen, we got to start with Manchester City. A lot of City fans are okay with losing Julian Alvarez. I've spoken about this, and I don't consider Julian Alvarez like amazing football player. He's good. He's top level, not elite, not amazing. But should Manchester City replace Julian Alvarez with a striker? Is there going to be... My question yesterday, a lot of City fans didn't like the question. Who is the top forward that will come in and sit behind Haaland for a whole season? Can Man City find that guy?
I mean, they could. They've got the ability to, but it reminds you of the Harry Kane situation at Spurs. There's very few people that are going to want to come in and sort of be sat behind Haaland in the biggest games, hence why Alvarez wants to go. Will they replace him? I think they will. They'll definitely do it with an attacking player. Whether or not it will be a striker that's like for like to Alvarez, I'm not so sure, but they'll find a way. They'll make sure that they've got a number that can, like Alvarez was key for them at times at a number 10 or an attacking midfield role last season as well. So they'll make sure that they replace him. The amount of money they're going to generate from that sale as well, they definitely have the means to do it as well. So don't be shocked to see someone come into Manchester City that's fluid, that can play in a number of different roles like Alvarez could. I don't think it will be like for like. It might not be a player that's capable of scoring as many goals as like Haaland is or Alvarez has done in the past, but they could be just as creative as some of the other players on the team. City will be absolutely fine whether they lose Alvarez or not, to be honest with you. And the amount of money they're getting is, I mean, it's crazy. And he's a good player, by the way. I think City are just very blessed with how good their squad is. Any other team in the Premier League would miss Julian Alvarez from their starting 11.
The problem that I said yesterday is, imagine if Man City build the whole system based on a number 9, someone like Erling Haaland, based on a number 9, and they play, and we see like Man City every season, they kind of like, it takes a bit for them to have the right system to serve the forward or get it going, like we seen 2 seasons ago or last season. Imagine if they build that whole thing with the Savios and the Foden now is a number 10 and Jeremy Doku. And they build it for a number 10, for a number 9, like Erling Haaland. But Erling Haaland gets injured or he's unavailable, or he needs a rest. And imagine they go for they were lucky to get, not lucky, they scouted well Julian Alvarez. They scouted Julian Alvarez very well to get the guy. Imagine if they go for the money and get someone like a striker to sit behind Haaland. I don't think there is going to be a top striker that can get a decent amount of goal that will be all right to sit behind Haaland for a whole season. That is my point. There has to be 2 systems at Manchester City. One with a 9, one without a 9. Because we've seen, once Alvarez became a star, he's like, I want to move. I'm not going to stay here forever. I want to move. I can't just sit here and wait for my chance behind Erling Haaland. That is the problem. And I know that a lot of City fans, we're going to play with false 9. But you remember that you're coached to play with a number 9 like Erling Haaland. You've been coached to play with that guy. You've been coached to serve that guy to score the goals. That is my problem. Do you think City will find it a little bit difficult to attract a talent or a good player to sit behind Haaland, and unless they can do like two systems like the whole season?
I hear you on the two systems. I mean, they may do that. Pep's quite capable of doing that, isn't he? I don't think they'll struggle to attract a talent, because I think if they go for a talent like they did with Alvarez, he was very aware he was
Yeah,
coming
that's
into
no
being
problem.
he was very aware he was coming in to be an understudy, probably to Haaland. And when he believed he was good enough, he's been moved on now to a great team in Atletico Madrid. So the backup option can almost use Manchester City as a stepping stone for their own career, even if they never reach the heights. You can also go about it in a different way and find someone that's very reliable and happy to sort of be the backup option. They've had it in the past. They're like, I mean, Ortega in goal. He's been key for them in so many different moments when Edison's got injured or they've decided to rotate. He's always stepped up. So Manchester City can find the right person. It all comes down to mentality for me. If they can find someone that mentality-wise fits the bill in terms of wanting to sit on the bench and step up in their moments and have their moments, it'll all be okay. So yeah, I think they can. And you said how well they scouted a player like Julian Alvarez. They'll do the same if they're going to recruit again. They'll scout someone. They'll find out about their personality. They'll find out if they've got the right mentality to fit the bill. And they will not struggle. They've won league titles before without a number 9. They've still got Haaland. If he gets injured, I wouldn't worry about City falling off in terms of where they are in the league, to be honest.
I actually think that Manchester City, if Haaland stays fit the whole season, I don't think there's a problem at all, by the way.
There's not,
there's
is
a problem for Manchester City at all.
Even I mean,
No,
Mo,
no. Man City will be fine. We'll be even.
Yeah. If you think about it, right, he got injured for what? A third of the season last season, and he still scored 30 goals. So, you know, you can cope with a player scoring 30 goals even if they miss a third of it, right? So I think they've got players that are fluid enough in their team to revert back to that old Pep false 9 that they had before Haaland. And they'll probably have enough money in the bank if they feel like that's an issue and Haaland picks up a really long injury, they're going to have money in the bank, obviously, and a little bit more after this Alvarez sale to go and recruit and bring someone in. And there are plenty of players that will happily go and play for Manchester City for the chances of winning what they do, rather than sitting at a club battling out for...
I got a question here for this. I got a question for you about this. Because Pep is not staying, that might be a problem. Because if you attract a player, if you get a player in, he wants to play under Pep Guardiola. Now, Pep Guardiola haven't made a decision. And he isn't going to make a decision. They said he's not going to make a decision until like late in the autumn or something, or the winter. So that might be a problem. You don't think that's a problem for them?
I mean, it is a problem. It's the same as Klopp leaving Liverpool in a sense, probably a little bit more at Manchester City because they've been so dominant under Pep. But if he's not going to advertise it, if he's picking up the phone to get someone in, he's not going to say, look, come in for a season, I'm leaving, but it'll all be okay afterwards. If he's making the sales pitch to a player, he's not going to say, look, I'm leaving. He'll sell the player, get the contract signed, and then break the news to the whole squad, probably. I'm not sure when Pep goes. I don't know if he's even sure when he goes, but I think they'll be okay. I do worry that a couple of their players have had questionable injury records over the past couple of seasons. De Bruyne, obviously Haaland had one last season that wasn't great. So as long as they can cope, they'll be all right. And I think back to before Pep, they had like 4 strikers on rotation. Obviously Haaland has to keep putting up the numbers to keep himself in the team, but they had 4 strikers on rotation for a very long time before the Pep Guardiola era. So people are going to want to join Manchester City, whether Pep's there or not, because they're now a massive force and they will sustain themselves at the top of the English game, whether Pep's there or not. I'm absolutely certain of that because they've done it before Pep.
I think there's going to be a little bit of a setback when Pep leaves. Listen, every single club in the world, after a big manager leaves like this, there has to be a setback. There has to be a setback. It happens everywhere. And because of how good Pep is, this season might be the season where City a little bit a little bit slower. And I think it shows when they're slower in the market, a little bit of buying players. Yes, Savio deal, but that was done way earlier. I
Oh yeah,
think
that
it's going
was
to be
done
a
when
little
he
bit.
signed for Troyes.
Yes, exactly. That was meant to happen earlier. So for me, I'm like thinking that Manchester City might be thinking about the future after Pep. I am sure that the because of the owners and the board, they know that Pep is staying, they will announce it. They will definitely announce it. But I don't think he even knows if he's staying or not. I don't think he knows, but that's a big thing. Listen, as you said, Bosnia, thank you so much, Mookie, for being here. Guys, let's get to 100 likes, guys. Let's get quickly to 100 likes. Hit that like button underneath your live chat, guys. It helps the channel, it helps the algorithms if you hit that like button underneath your live chat. I wanted to move on to Chelsea. Been getting a lot of heat. And I've been getting a lot of hate lately. I did a show yesterday, a solo show. And I said that this Omorodion guy for 35 million pounds, it's a very questionable signing, number one, right? It's a very questionable signing. They say, but Jackson is the striker and he's coming to be the understudy. I still think that if you were getting Omorodion and you're getting Osimhen, I would say, yeah, okay, that's it. Someone, they maybe scouted him. They maybe think he's an asset for the future. But if you have a Nicholas Jackson and you're getting an Omorodion, that matches the let's get assets in so we can raise the club's value instead of let's get the ready-made players to win today. And I don't know if that's helping Maresca. And the problem is Maresca is he keeps saying the right things for the fans to be pleased. That's, by the way, I was sitting with Ziad the other day on Al Ahwa. Big up Ziad, of course, Ziad's zone. And he's saying that as long as Maresca comes after the games and says that I know the problems and I know the problems, he's okay with it. But anyone can say that. Anyone can say, oh yeah, I know what the problems are. I'm not sure how do you see this Omorodion deal because it looks like it's going to happen soon, especially with Gallagher going.
Yeah, look, this has been on the cards for a while now. We were linked with him, I think maybe even in January. So it's been coming for a while. It's almost been inevitable when these sporting directors and scouts kind of set their targets. They go after them until they get them. They can be on our books, and until they move to a different club, if they're available, it looks like we're going after them. So, yeah, I'm not surprised he's going to finally end up at Chelsea. I think we've signed players that are here for clear returns in terms of financial reasons. I'm not sure where we stand with him. A lot of people have said to me that no, they really like him. He's definitely coming into the team to be an asset for the playing squad. I'm not sure with that, to be honest. And if it means we're getting him over the likes of getting Osimhen for a little bit more, I think it's crazy. He's a good prospect. There's a lot of from what I've seen, a lot of positives to his game physically. I'd worry about him technically in the Premier League. They're going to have to do a lot of work with him, I'd say. But the money is obviously crazy for the amount that we're going to pay for a player who's barely, I don't think he's played for Atletico Madrid's first team that much. And the fact that they're going to go and pay 81 million for Alvarez, it just kind of shows the levels and the gap between where Atletico Madrid are in their recruitment and Chelsea are in theirs. So, look, there's positives to a striker coming in because I personally don't feel that Broja is good enough. I don't think that Datro Fofana's good enough. They've had bouts at Chelsea and they've obviously not been favoured for the team. But is it a waste of 35, 40 million when you could spend that money elsewhere? Maybe, because Jackson has been doing okay. I think you have to recruit at a higher level than Jackson rather than a level below and promote him. So, look,
That's what I said.
yeah, I think you're right. I
Get
think you're right in
get
that.
someone higher than Jackson.
Yeah,
Not
and
lower than
Osimhen.
Jackson. Give Maresca the tools to work. And
Well,
instead of giving him another player that is, yeah.
Well, the thing is, Mo, if they get him for 35 million and say he spends 6 months here, then come January he goes on loan for a season, 2 seasons, and they manage to offload him for 40, they've made money. It's another 40 million pounds to go on the books. They're in it for the money. 5 million profit is 5 million profit to them. So They're not bothered. If to be honest, from what I've seen, he's very, very raw. I've only watched compilations. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've watched Deportivo games. I haven't. But back when we were being linked with him before, I went and had a look. I've had a look again a little bit more recently. There is a player in there if someone can unlock it. Now, do I think Maresca is the right type of coach to unlock that? I'm not really sure. And the thing is, as well, we have to remember this. Maresca's going to be, he has to be backed by the board if the type of striker they are buying him is Omorodion. Because how can you expect results from Omorodion as your striker instantly? And how can a manager be under pressure for not getting results if that's the tools he has to work with? If you go and buy that manager Osimhen and he doesn't get you Champions League football, questions are going to be asked, right? But if you go and bring in a player like Omorodion and the manager doesn't get you European football, you can't sack the manager because you didn't give him the best environment to succeed in. I don't know if that
Yeah,
makes
I get what
sense,
you're saying.
but
And I said that. No, it does, because, and I said, people said, but this club has had a manager that doesn't have experience. Yeah, but they had ready-made players. I believe Chelsea squad is a good team and is a good squad. But I thought they needed an experienced manager. What you have now at Chelsea, which is what Chelsea fans don't like when I say it, you have an unexperienced squad along with an inexperienced manager. That is a combination. Most likely than not, it is not there to succeed. It is not a combination.
Not in the
to
now,
succeed.
is it? Not in
Exactly.
the instant.
It might work in 2-3 years, but it won't work now. And the question is, and it's not about the Chelsea fan base, because I don't think the owners care about the Chelsea fan base as much. It is about the money. Can the Chelsea owners, can Chelsea Football Club afford a year or two more without Champions League football? I don't think so financially.
I don't think so
based on what
either.
we have seen.
I think it's they're getting by at the moment, aren't they? Because they've got such a deep playing squad that they're constantly able to turn to and sell and put it on the books to suggest that we've made more money, even though we'll still be paying off these players in the years to come. If we sell a player that we bought a couple of seasons ago, it's 10 million profit on the books or something like that. So look, it's all a bit confusing. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a financial expert, but what I do think the case will be, and we've seen it with other teams before, and we've even seen it with Chelsea in recent years, not getting Champions League football is a serious hindrance to a club's financial abilities, how they can act in the market, players they can attract, the day-to-day running of a football club, the improvements it can make, whether season ticket prices get up, all that sort of stuff is subsidized if you achieve on the pitch with results, because you get financial rewards for that. Further up the Premier League, you get more money. Further up the further you go into the Champions League, other cup competitions, you earn more money for it. You also then probably attract better revenue sponsors as well, because you're on TV to the biggest audiences, which Chelsea aren't anymore. They're not in the Champions League. They're not in the biggest games. They're kind of putting a lot of backing on this Club World Cup, and there's question marks about whether or not that's going to even happen. But yeah, financially, if Chelsea aren't succeeding on the pitch, eventually the pool of players that are worth any money to sell on is going to run out. It'll run dry. And if we're not succeeding on the pitch, getting Champions League football, the owners aren't going to be in a good position. And that is the point when I think they'll learn and have to change their ways. And until that happens, I'm not sure it's going to happen. And Bowley, by the way, saying that he wants to win is PR. Boney wants to line his pockets first, as does every other person at Clearlake Capital. They are a hedge fund, an investment fund. They're not set up to win. They are set up to make money. First things first, they can tell you what they want you to hear, but they are set up to make money. If they were set up to win, they wouldn't be paying 40 million euros for Omorodion, would they?
No. They would pay an extra 10 and get Ivan Toney for 50 million.
Yeah, or an extra 20 that they've blown on another youngster and get Osimhen or something. So, look, we'll see. If Chelsea go and sign Omorodion and Osimhen, I wouldn't even be surprised, because we did it last summer and signed Casado and Lavia when we didn't need both, but we went for both and we got them both. So I wouldn't be shocked if we did that. But look, a striker in who I think probably poses more of a threat on the pitch than maybe Broja or Datro Fofana, is a good idea as long as you move them 2 on. If you move them 2 on for 20 million each, you pay for Omorodion. That's how I look at it. So,
yeah. And I wanted to touch a little bit on the tactics of what happened in the last game. I'm not sure if you watched the game or not.
yeah, I've
It
seen
was,
it now.
and even yeah. I said something that Chelsea fans didn't like as well. And you are a Chelsea fan. You go to the
Yes,
game.
I am.
You watch
Apparently, I'm
season.
not, Mo, according to some people, but I am. Yes, I'm a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, I know a lot of people there, but you're maybe different than some of the Chelsea fans who were poached out, and they are desperate not to be questioning a little bit of the decision that was made to sack Poch, or even the decision that is made not to get an experienced manager. Does that make sense? There is a lot of Chelsea fans that instead of sitting and saying his resume is not great, and I'm not saying what Chelsea fans should say, from my opinion, and that is just me being objective. If my club hired someone that is not experienced and that doesn't have a great resume, and Xabi Alonso's not experienced, but he just won the Bundesliga, they say, yeah, but Maresca won the championship. You're comparing winning the Bundesliga to winning the championship with the best team in the championship, right? It's not the same. Enzo Maresca, from what I've seen, and I don't know what you think, I think until this moment, he doesn't know the best formation that suits these players. He doesn't know the best combination on the pitch. He doesn't know. He is trying to play fit 4 midfielders, sometimes 3 midfielders, 3 at the back, 4 at the back. Because, by the way, last game, if he didn't have Kukurea, he wasn't forced to play 2 fullbacks, Malo Gusto and Reece James. Each one of them could have had a half, and you'll be okay. But he chose to play 2 fullbacks. That means he wants to try the 4 in the back with someone inverting and try 4 midfielders. And he played Nkunku and Mudryk up top, which is basically there was no left winger. It was Shrewsbury Hall was supposed to be the left winger, which is another midfielder. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you have no idea the best formation that suits these players. You just don't know. You're trying things. And the season is 2.5 weeks from now.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, isn't it, Mo, of bringing in a guy like Maresca, whose system is so influential to how his team is going to succeed. He's not going to adapt to the team. The team will have to fit into his system. So that's the first thing Chelsea have done, is find a guy who they've hired, a guy who has a very clear system and players have to fit in. And he will experiment and get to know all the players to find out who fits his system best. It's not like an Ancelotti, where Ancelotti will adapt himself to the players that he has, will change up how he plays at any club that he goes to, and then have success that way. And right now, Maresca is experimenting because it's early days. He hasn't had his full squad. He needs to know if players can do different jobs. He's only met them as a squad for what, a month and a half, if that. Has he seen them playing competitive games? No. So he's got to experiment. Now is the time to do it. I think there's a couple of things I'll say that I'm not sold on. He's so key on the inverting of one of the fullbacks. He's also seems like he's key on having Reece James focus on the defensive side of the game rather than the attacking side of the game. And that, for me, is a bit of an issue because I think Reece is such an asset all over the pitch going forward on that right-hand side. I say all over the pitch, but you know what I mean. On that right-hand side, he dominates that whole area of the pitch. To remove that from Reece James worries me a little bit, that would be in a manager's like his IQ would suggest that's the right thing to do. That concerns me. As a manager, though, and what I've seen some very fluid football. I've seen some tactical mishaps, which I completely agree with you on. I've also seen him rectify them at halftime. I've seen him experiment with different ideas from what he wants certain players to do already. I think he's just trying to get to know what he has at his disposal. And by the time we get round to that Manchester City game, I'd expect him to have a much better idea of his starting 11 going forward. Whether or not that's his best, I just think he'll have a team set in mind for that Man City game.
In his mind, to start that game. Yeah.
He probably, that first half against Man City was completely different from how we finished against Club America. So, and pretty
Yeah.
different to what we've seen in most of pre-season. So I think he would have tried that, saw that it didn't really work. He rectified it at halftime. We had a better second half. Look, we're not great. We don't look amazing. Defensively, there are big question marks right now. Whether the team is good enough or whether his tactics are good enough, I think there's probably question marks over both because we've conceded a lot of goals. I'm not Maresca out. I'm nothing silly like that. He needs time. He's a coach, like you said, that's inexperienced. I believe he has a lot of knowledge because he's able to spot the issues that are there. Everything he's saying after the games, I'm agreeing with. Most of the time, I listen to him and go, you know what, you're right. Can you implement the changes to correct those issues, though? And that's what's going to be tested over the season. When I used to listen to Poch, I used to say, you're not telling me what I want to hear. I've just watched that game of football. I've seen a lot of issues. You've not noticed them. Enzo Maresca, every time he's noticed an incident or noticed an issue that I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I've picked up on that issue as well. He's told me what I want to hear. I just need to see evidence that it changes. Right now, pre-season, we're conceding too many goals. By the time we get into 5 games in the Premier League, I don't want to have conceded as many goals as we've conceded in pre-season. And that's how I'll know if he learned. It is going to be a baptism of fire. He's asking players like Sanchez, Jorgensen, the keepers, to take massive risks. He's asking players like Tosin, Fofana to take massive risks. There will be a lot of times early on in the season when we will pay for those risks that are taken, like Unai Emery's Arsenal did. If you remember that, baptism of fire, straight away, asked them to play out from the back. The players weren't capable, and the fans got on Unai Emery's back straight away. This isn't good enough. Change the system. You've got to be patient with a manager like Maresca. The issue is, are Chelsea in a position as a football club to be patient right now? We haven't won in a while. We don't
But
look like we're capable
why
of
do you
winning.
have to be why do you have to be patient? Why did Chelsea have to be patient?
Do you know,
Why is
because of the squad that
because
they've
a lot of
recruited,
people, Dan, but a lot of people, Dan, question Arsenal's decision to hire an inexperienced manager and said it took a long time. This long project could have been shorter if you hired an. Why?
But because he's
Why did
because
Chelsea
he's,
make that decision?
I don't know, Mo, to be honest with you. I think the idea is that if they go with a young squad and a manager that can blend that young squad together, they will be, when Pep leaves and then there's the space opens up for a new challenger, Chelsea's squad will be able to cement a challenge for the next 10 years. If you look at the average age, there's players in that team that are 20 years old that could be in and around the top level of European football for the next 10 years. Like Malo Gusto, for example. That's the type of player that they've tried to sign who can be here for a long time, be on a long contract and progress as the club progresses back into a position to fight. Unfortunately, with all the issues that have gone on off the pitch, they are now testing the fans' patience because treating Conor Gallagher how they have, treating Trevor Chalobah how they have, upping season
Okay, hold
ticket
on. You
prices.
disagree with the Conor Gallagher situation?
I disagree.
You disagree with the Conor Gallagher situation?
Yeah, I do. I think the way they've handled it, the fact that they only offered him 2+1, that's being reported, I think that's offensive, considering Omorodion's going to come in on a 7-year deal. We've signed Jorgensen on 7-year deal. All these players around Conor Gallagher coming in on 7-year deals. And Conor Gallagher, one of the highest appearance makers last season. In terms of numbers, pretty good as well from as a centre midfielder goes. The run that Conor Gallagher and Caicedo put together at the end of the season moved us up the table massively in comparison to where Enzo and Caicedo did. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Conor Gallagher is absolutely key to Chelsea's success moving forward, but the fact that he was only offered 2+1 when players are coming in completely unproven on 7 years, I think that's an offensive offer, if I'm being honest with you. I think the fact that they
I said that. I swear I said that.
I think the fact that they banished him or were going to banish him to the reserves is awful. I know they said, oh, we don't want players to run down into the last year of their contract. Okay, fine, I get that. But there's a way you go about offering a contract extension or renewal that means that they don't run it down. If you offer them a crappy offer, they're going to say, no, I don't want it. at least offer him one of respect. At least offer him 5 years and a slight reduction in salary, so he's guaranteed earnings for 5 years. 2+1 to Conor Gallagher, who last year was a big. I don't want to put too much weight on how good I think Conor Gallagher was, because he's okay. He's not amazing.
He wasn't good, but I'm gonna tell you how I characterize Conor Gallagher last season.
Go on.
He wasn't amazing. He wasn't Conor Palmer. He was a key figure in the Chelsea climbing the table to be 6, especially in the I believe he was a key figure. You like it, you don't like it. He was a key figure. The thing about it is that without Conor Gallagher last season, Chelsea would have struggled. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you should keep a player, right, if you don't want him. But I'm going to say this. It doesn't align with you giving everyone 7-year contract, and then you're telling me, but we don't want players to run down the contract. But you're giving other players, some of them are unproven, 7-year contracts. What happens if Enzo Fernandez tomorrow is not performing well this season? What are you going to do? And what if Enzo Fernandez can't find a club? What if Enzo Fernandez, what if Mudryk can't find a club and he's just sitting on the bench and he doesn't want to go? What are you going to do? Are you going to bash Mudryk as well to the reserves? That's the question. If Harry Maguire tomorrow says to Manchester United, listen, I'm not moving until I get what I want from you. The way, same Wan-Bissaka. Do you think, by the way, Wan-Bissaka at the current moment is in the same boat as Conor Gallagher? Right? Will Man United put same exact boat? They don't want him. They don't see him long term. He has 1 year left. He doesn't make massive amount of money.
Season last year as Conor Gallagher was.
But apart from that, apart from being instrumental, he's someone who played, because Diego Dallo played left. If there was no Wan-Bissaka, they would not have had. You remember, Diego Dallo played left back and Wan-Bissaka was playing right back. If Wan-Bissaka now, and I'm forget the player, I'm talking from a club's asset perspective, right? He's a serviceable player. Like, you could use Conor Gallagher.
Yeah.
He's not making 500K a week. He's not making 300K a week, right? On your books. You can use Conor Gallagher next season, run down his contract, move on. Right?
He was also captain for the majority of the season as well. And
I
one
guess
of the only
moving
Chelsea
to reserves
players,
is disrespectful.
It is, because he's one of the only Chelsea players that maintains.
And also, you're twisting the player's arm.
Mm-hmm.
You're the Chelsea is the one who gave him the contract. But anyway, Conor Gallagher deal. He's gonna go to Atletico Madrid. That's off
Great
the books.
move.
The question to you, and he's, by the way, he is so Simeone, it's unbelievable.
That is a perfect. If there's a perfect move outside of England for Conor Gallagher, it is Atletico Madrid and Simeone. He will up his game and up his level so much under him, because Simeone is one of the highest paid coaches in the world for a reason. The Kieran Trippier that went to Atletico Madrid is a different Kieran Trippier that came back, and we saw that in the England squad. It is probably at his best stage when he was playing in Spain, won the league. I think for Conor Gallagher, that's a great move, by the way. And to get the amount of money that Chelsea are getting, I actually think it's pretty low, to be honest with you, considering what we got for Mason Mount in the same sort of situation. I think it's pretty low, to be honest. So,
yeah, 100%. Big up Saeed. Here you go. Saeed is giving you. There is about 350 of you here, guys, and we are only on 88 likes. That is so unacceptable, people. We really need the likes at least to 200, guys. Hit the like button. It helps the show. It helps the channel massively. And if you're new, subscribe. Come on, guys. Hit that like button. Get us to 200 likes. You're slacking. You know that sometimes I say when they don't like, that means they're enjoying the show. So nobody is looking at the like button. But listen, people, for Chelsea, though, tactically speaking, what do you think is the best way to go about with these players?
It's difficult. I think it depends if you want to sit here and do a long chat about individually. But I think as a group,
but the main. Okay, so let me maybe shorten the situation. The Nkunku thing.
Yeah.
Every time I see Nkunku, left wing, right wing, false nine, a striker, and he said himself that Maresca told him you can play all across the front line. But however, I think someone like Nkunku with that much talent should make a position. I'm gonna say the same about Foden when we said he should make a position his. Nkunku has the talent to make a position his, not be just to fill the left, fill the right. He's great in all of them, but I'm sure he has a position that he should be playing at. And by the way, in my opinion, it should be the left wing, in my opinion, because you lack a left winger at the current moment.
Yeah, and we lack a left back that can provide the width to push on if you play a player that's inverted on that left-hand side as well. For me, players like Nkunku they're incredibly good at playing in a number of different positions. I think that's what Maresca's getting at, is that he can rely on him to be versatile. But also, with Maresca's system and what we've seen very early on is that these players aren't going to be rigid in the system. They're going to be fluid. They're going to be able to rotate and move to different areas of the pitch. And I think the main thing with a player like Nkunku is, as long as you can cover the area that he vacates on a pitch to go and pick up the ball and make things happen, you're okay. I think that's the main thing. If Nkunku is deployed in an advanced midfield role, as long as someone can cover for him when he leaves that area to push on, you're okay, because of the quality that Nkunku offers on the pitch. As long as he's picking up the ball in the areas where he offers the most and he's the biggest asset he can be for his skill set, that's when I think Maresca's fluid, possession-based style of football and systematic approach will work. I don't think Nkunku is going to be stuck in this rigid position saying, you're an out-and-out number 9, occupy that area, that's what you do. You know, like
where
Haaland
do you see him the best position for him? Where do you see
personally, I think if you drew out a grid on a football pitch, an area that occupies the left-hand side of the pitch from probably about the final third area from the penalty spot out to the left-hand side touchline. I think that area, if you drew a square there, I think in that area, Nkunku is at his absolute best. Intricate passing, taking on players, having opportunities to work shots. I mean, he looks fantastic in that area of the pitch. If you're dropping him too deep, I think you lose a little bit of Nkunku. And if you isolate him to a number 9, like we see Poch did a couple of times last season, you also take away that part of his game that's looked excellent at times, which is the link-up play and dropping deep. But I think he'd favour the left-hand side. And I think without graphics, it's hard to draw. But if you imagine from a line of the final third and from the penalty spot out to the left-hand side, I think that is the area that Nkunku, for years now, whether it's at Leipzig, France or Chelsea, has shown that that's the area of the pitch he wants to get on the ball. And I think he looks fantastic, by the way. I think he is so key next season going forward, getting the best out of him. And if you imagine where Cole Palmer...
I am screaming, Dan. I'm screaming Osimhen, Palmer, and Nkunku up top. I'm screaming.
Well, I think...
And I'm not a Chelsea fan. I want to see that front line, bro. I
think it sounds unreal.
Actually, there is another idea in my head for Chelsea that I kept saying it. And I said, I actually want to see this lineup for Chelsea. I want to see Lavia, Caicedo, Nkunku up top, Palmer, Osimhen, Jackson on the left, in the back line, Cucurella, who is sound defensively, and we have seen it in the Euros, Levi Colwill, maybe get another centre back, maybe Tosin, maybe Disasi, someone, and Reece James. That is somewhat is a back line that maybe can be competitive. The problem with it is that it needs a little bit of experience, because I don't think Disasi has it. Disasi is not it for me. He's all right, but he's not it. Tosin, he's good. Again, he's not amazing. And Chelsea need an amazing
he's in a very
defender.
similar boat to Disasi, Tosin. I don't think there's much between those two players. I think technically Tosin maybe is a little bit better, but Disasi's ball stats last year really aren't that bad. There's 1 or 2 moments that are horrific, but actually, as a season, him on the ball is pretty good. I was having a look because he got slated so much last year. He wasn't Chelsea's worst defender on the ball by quite a long way.
Yeah, but that back line, even though I don't like Cucurella going forward, I think that front line, along with Nkunku behind him, can be okay with him not going forward. And also, there's one thing about Nkunku and Jackson. We have seen Jackson drop deep, so he can actually play that deep role. So he can exchange with Nkunku, and I think
good.
that. But this is
the end of last year. They look good.
That's why I wanted Chelsea to sign not Omorodion, whatever his name is, Accordion. I wanted Chelsea to sign an Olise or an Osimhen or even an Ivan Toney for £50 million and go with the season. at least at that time, the team will be good. The question will only be Maresca. Without that, and without an experienced defender there, without someone who is a world class, Chelsea don't have a world class defender. Not even one, only Reece James, and he is limiting him going forward. So I think Chelsea need maybe a world class defender, but they aren't going. They're actually getting rid of Chalobah, and they're signing another youngster that I don't know the name of, another Yo-Yo Gogi, whatever thing.
And they got rid of Thiago Silva as well, which was clearly our best centre back last season. Even with age, he was still our best.
His age is done, in my opinion.
It is. Oh, it was. And I think last season was the first season we really started to see him struggle, like to maintain his fitness. Yes. And every time he came back from an injury, it took him a little bit to get going. But the quality was there to see. I worry about Chelsea defensively. I think goalkeeper-wise, we're not great in that area, even with this Jorgensen coming in. I've looked at his footage.
No, you're not.
He's not unbelievable. His shot stopping isn't actually amazing. And on the ball, look, he looks okay. I actually think that he's not as much of a risk taker as Sanchez on the ball, but we'll see what happens under Maresca and the instructions that are there. Defensively, I worry about Chelsea. And if we're not sorted defensively, there is no point worrying about any other area, because if we're conceding the amount of goals that we are and the way we look so open at the moment in pre-season, we won't be able to win games because we will have to score so many goals. Like, we will concede. Imagine if City are fully firing first game of the season and we're in the same sort of position with a defense that isn't great, doesn't look structured, doesn't look defensively solid. They could put 6 past us. They put, in 2 different spells in the game, they put 2 goals past us in literally minutes. They were, first half, I think it was within like 4 minutes, they had 2 goals. And then second half, within a couple of minutes as well, they had another 2 goals. They're 4-0 up. We've got to start quicker. We've got to look more solid. There's a lot to happen between now and that Manchester City game. And there will be an awful lot to happen between that Manchester City game and even Christmas. And then I think that's a fair period of time to look at Maresca and go, what are we seeing here? Is he a suitable fit? Have the board made a right decision? But until then, and until the transfer window's shut, it's just way too quick to start judging him and saying it's let's see if he can rectify his mistakes, because that's the whole point of being a manager and a coach, is you make the players better, you make the system, you make tweaks to the system to improve what's happening on the pitch. He's had success, albeit at a level that most of us raise question marks around. Can he replicate it at a different level? We have to wait and see. But there are issues for me right now. That's it.
Guys, listen, let's get to 200 likes, guys. Hit that like button. On that point, which is you made, it's a good segue, but it's not actually a segue to the Solanke deal, for example, to Spurs. You support Chelsea, direct rivals for Champions League position. Looking at them, targeting someone. By the way, there is a report just about half an hour ago that popped on my feed that says that they are willing to meet the £65 million package for Solanke from Bournemouth. Looking at Spurs, signing someone like a Solanke to back Ange Postecoglou, does that worry you at all about them moving a couple of steps ahead of you?
I think they're already ahead of us, as annoying as that is to say. I think they are, because I think they're going for players to improve their squad right now. Yes, they are trying to be there or thereabouts when Pep leaves as well. I think they have a similar idea of that. They are looking at young players to bring in. Obviously, Son's age isn't on his side. So by the time that sort of window opens, I'm pretty sure Son will be on his way out of the club. But Solanke is the type of striker that if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be okay with us bringing in. I feel like he was at a level last season at Bournemouth that was good enough to lead most Premier League front lines. He scored a lot of goals for a team that weren't amazing. He added a lot physically. He added a lot in terms of numbers as well. Winning games for Bournemouth, he was instrumental in some of those. He's a really good player. He's Chelsea as a kid through and through. And the fact he's going to Spurs, when I believe we could have been in a position to bring him back, is crazy for me, but a good addition for Spurs. If he's going to cost 65 million, makes you wonder whether Spurs could have splashed out a little bit more on a striker that would be a bit more proven. But Solanke had a good season last year, and he was definitely on my list of players I would like to see playing up front for Chelsea.
And he was coached under a very progressive coach in Iraola last season.
That is a quality coach, by the way. That is a manager
And that's the
who
thing. When you
really,
get a
really
player
impressed me.
scouting, yeah, I'm sure he improved his game. The way he moves the ball, the way he moves in the 18, the way he moves around the 18, the way that he's passing and everything. By the way, I'm a big believer in the players that come in for any club is who coached them. Who coached them before they come into you? Were they coached under a progressive manager, under a manager that only plays counter-attack? Because it's easier to move from a progressive manager to Enzo Maresca system. Pass, yes. Iraola plays kind of like passing game. He's not like a Sean Dyche. So that is the thing. And I think that Solanke guy, based on what I've seen last season, he can be an addition to any team. I said that about Chelsea. Maybe if they don't want to splash the cash for Osimhen, Solanke, he's expensive, yes, but that's the market. Isak is 150, Osimhen is 100 million. That's what you got. Ivan Toney's 29 or 28, so this is why he's 50 years old and he has 1 year left. Solanke, they don't have to sell. They don't have to sell.
Well,
I think that
Solanke is a
Spurs,
big
if
name in the footballing world as well. He was a former wonder kid for English football. He scored so many goals in Chelsea's academy. He went to Liverpool at such a young age and it never really worked out. And it's only sort of now last season that he's really put himself on the map at the Premier League level, at a top level. So I think for Spurs, that's great. They've never really replaced Harry Kane's goals, have they? And they still managed to get fifth. So if they replace some of his goals with what they did last season, and hopefully for them, Ange improves, because there were some issues last year. If that's true, by the way, that's crazy. There were some.
What is that? Can you read the news?
I'm seeing.
I didn't read the news.
It's
Is
coming
that
up
true,
on
guys?
Twitter.
Is that true?
I've not seen.
Did it collapse? Hold on, that's not true. That can't be true. Can someone correct us in the chat, please, guys? Is that true?
Yeah, if anyone gets a link, definitely
did the deal
drop it in.
collapse? Please, guys, drop a link. One of the mods, please, guys. I don't know. Is that true? That means Omorodion. By the way, that means Omorodion deal is not happening.
Well, I just saw saying it was a separate deal.
I thought they were linked.
But all I'm seeing right now is he's still set to travel. But
oh wow, all right. Because Fabrizio
let's
said
wait and see with
his
that.
flight
But
and everything.
either way, right, whether he goes to Atletico Madrid or not, I don't expect him to stay at Chelsea. I don't expect him to stay because he's not going to.
Where is he going to go?
Well, I don't know, a Premier League club. I always said he'd be a good fit for Newcastle or Aston Villa, and I still stand by that. Even Tottenham, as much as the fact that Chelsea have treated him in the way that they have, if he moved to Tottenham now, as much as that would pain me, I honestly wouldn't be opposed to him making that decision, because he needs to be playing football in a team that suits him. But that is crazy if he ends up at a team like Spurs.
That would be hilarious. That would be amazing.
He does suit Ange's style of play, though, doesn't he? He's strongest part of his game is a game that's based around transitions.
Technically is not great. Technically,
I don't think it is. But Ange doesn't need a player in Conor Gallagher's position to be technically unbelievable. He needs a player that helps them transition from defense to attack really quickly, which is what they did last year. Their technical player is James Maddison in that build-up. They give the ball to James Maddison to make something happen. Conor Gallagher's job is to get the ball from defense, turn it into attack as quickly as possible, and lay it off to a player like James Maddison or a Son or something like that, which he's capable of doing, by the way. If you ask him to do more than that, like Poch did at times, he won't deliver.
But do you believe people are sleeping on Spurs?
I think we need to see more from Ange. I've spoken to a few Tottenham fans. They keep telling me, and I remember this press conference, Ange said, I will implement things in stages. First of all, it's just about getting the basics down. Then next season will be tactical instructions and things like that. So we need to see if this season is Ange's tactical instructions. How good are they? But Ange, I think, has got a set plan that he's had everywhere he's been. And the second season tends to be the year that you start to see an improvement. I think Tottenham really struggled with injuries last year. I think they were also in a really beneficial position that they shocked the Premier League in how they were going to play for the first 10 games, hence why they went unbeaten and looked so good. And that actually helped them out massively in where they finished for the rest of the season. Do I think they're good enough to get top 4. I'm not sure. Solanke's a good addition, but when I look at Newcastle, I think they might be better than Spurs. I think Manchester United are trying to put
Really?
themselves back. Yeah, I think Newcastle signing Mark Gehi as well is a great addition. I think
Yeah,
Tonali,
it's
I don't know when
fantastic.
he's back.
Amazing.
They're going to keep
He's
Isak.
back. He's
Looks
back.
like they're
Tonali's
going to
back.
keep.
Tonali's
Okay,
back.
so they're going to keep Bruno Guimaraes as well. They might lose Anthony Gordon. I'm sure they'll work hard to replace that.
No, but you have to. But I think from my understanding of this, sorry to interject, I think if Newcastle lose Anthony Gordon, they aren't going to be naive and stupid. They're going to have something lined up right away.
Their recruitment's been unbelievable, mate.
Yeah, and they're going to have someone lined up on that left winger that is top notch, like someone that they know is going to work. It is not going to be, oh, we're losing Anthony Gordon and we're signing someone that is unknown. No, I'm sure there is going to be someone. There is going to be someone. I don't know who, but there's going to be someone that will be lined up if they lose Anthony Gordon. They aren't just going to cut Anthony Gordon from the squad, make that much money and not replace him. I don't think so.
Also,
guys, there's about 370 people here. Let's get the likes up a little bit. We're only 150 likes. The minimum is 200 likes, guys. Hit that like button. The algorithms is not our friend. So hit that like button because it helps the show massively. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I believe that their recruitment's been unbelievable, and they've shown so many times that if a player's left or they've been in the market for a position, they've recruited really well since the new ownership's come in, and I expect them to do the same. Look, it's a big hit them losing Dan Ashworth to Manchester United, but they'll be okay. Like, they've got good staff coming in to replace him, and I think they'll be fine. They'll act in the right manner. They'll get a good amount of money if they sell Anthony Gordon. And if he doesn't move, I believe he's professional enough to keep putting a good level of performances in for Newcastle. I don't think he'll drop and down tools. I think he'll be okay.
No, he won't. He won't.
He's a good pro, isn't he?
I believe he's going to play because he has to. Because Anthony Gordon is young, and even if he wants to move, he's going to play this season to even get a bigger wage next season when he moves to Liverpool. For the England, I think this kid is adamant to make that left winger his in the next World Cup.
I think he's good.
You can see the fire in the kid.
I think he was treated so unfairly actually at this Euros. I think he showed enough for me in a very small amount of time that he deserved more than the minutes that he got, but he obviously wasn't allowed to. I don't know. It seemed like I don't need to get into it too much, but it seemed like something happened on the bike that day and he really wasn't backed and trusted since. So I don't know. Newcastle for me they probably have a better squad and they probably have a better starting 11 than Spurs. I think Anthony Gordon.
Do you think they have a better
starting
11 than? Do you think they have a better starting 11 than Chelsea, Man United at all?
Probably
with Guimaraes, Tonali, Joao Linton. They got. To be honest with you, in my opinion, they only need a right winger.
Yeah,
which is they are in right winger. They're in.
They're looking for one. They've been looking for one, haven't they? There's been links
they
about
asked
a right
twice
winger,
about Madueke.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So they've been looking for it. But I genuinely think if Newcastle's team is at full strength, they've struggled with injuries as well, which Eddie Howe always seems to do, by the way. If their team's at full strength, it's definitely better than Manchester United's. Is it better than Chelsea's? It's definitely it probably is. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think defensively they'd probably do Chelsea. I think going forward, we may have better options than them, bar an Isak. But I think we've got an Nkunku, which I don't think they have.
And Gordon. Palmer is better than Gordon.
Yeah.
I think Isak is better than everyone you have.
Yeah, and then you might argue that their midfielders although Chelsea's midfield would cost more, you might argue that Newcastle's midfield have done more than Chelsea's midfield in the Premier League.
And
Bruno Guimaraes has been unbelievable.
Even on paper,
Joel Linton has been.
Even though it's not my favorite, I think Caicedo's a better. But I think Caicedo's a better player than Bruno Guimaraes. That's just how I see it. I think Caicedo's better than Bruno Guimaraes. I'm not a biggest fan of Bruno Guimaraes.
I'll tell you who's really impressed me.
Yes, he's making some mistakes.
But Lavia looks fantastic.
Absolutely amazing. Do you know I think it's going to be a hit? Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah,
this
looks
guy is
good.
so electric.
He's
electric, but he also is not just electric like Gallagher. Do you know the difference? He's not electric like Gallagher. He's electric, but he's sound on the ball. He's good on the ball. He can deliver. We have seen it in the delivery. He can move. I like Dewsbury. I always liked him, by the way. 2 seasons ago when he played, I thought he would move. I didn't think that he would stay in the championship, but yeah, he stayed.
And yeah, arguably
But I
he's
think
been
that
rewarded by he got Leicester promoted again, was instrumental in them coming back up, and they've let him go, and he's been rewarded with a move to Chelsea. I said when he was coming in the links were there early on, I kind of view him as a mix between a Mason Mount and a Conor Gallagher. I think there's the energy there that Conor would offer to a team, and I think there's the technical side that Conor probably lacked that Mason Mount probably possessed more. For Chelsea right now under Maresca, he looks like a really good addition. There's his first game. He looked fantastic. He probably could have had about 4 goals had he been sharper. So I think he looks really good. I'm intrigued to see how it turns out for him this season. How much of a role he'll play in Chelsea's midfield because we have a lot of players there.
Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah,
I think he's your 3rd best midfielder. Caicedo, Lavia, and then him.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you because Enzo Fernandez has been underwhelming for me for quite a long period of time now.
And he has been underwhelming. That's the thing. He has been underwhelming for a while. It's not only pre-season or something. He has been underwhelming for a while now.
I can. This is really harsh, but I can think of 2 games last season where I felt like we saw the level we expected from him, and that was the first half against Brentford and the first game of the season against Liverpool. Other than that, I don't think we saw a good enough Enzo Fernandez all season.
Yeah, I agree. But
and
listen, a
under
good segue
Potter,
in the
he
last,
was probably better.
Yeah, in the last, Nadra, big up Nadra. Habibti, thank you for coming back. Queen Nadra, thank you for coming back to the stream. Appreciate you so much. I haven't seen you for a while. Touch on Liverpool. Mo, how do you see slot ball so far? Absolutely amazing, Nadra. I said that in the short time I watched Liverpool in preseason, I see the footprint right away. I see the guy tactically good. That's I see him good. The thing about it now, Liverpool need a DM, but they are linked to Chiesa to back Salah. In my opinion, Chiesa's injury prone. I don't see that deal happening at all. I don't think Chiesa as a slot player at all. I don't think Chiesa succeeding. But I think Liverpool need a DM. They are targeting someone from outside the Premier League. Couple of touches before I get to the other super chat about Osimhen to Arsenal. Couple of points about Liverpool. Then, do you see Liverpool challenging this season
for what? The title.
The title.
It's an outside chance. If I expect them to be better than what they were last season? No. So if they challenged last year for a period of time but fell off at the final hurdle, I'd expect them to fall off a little bit earlier than what they did. Yeah. I actually think they look pretty good under Slot. I've not watched a lot, but I've watched a couple of games as highlights. They're moving the ball well. It is a different style to
very good.
Yeah, it's a very different style to Jurgen Klopp. Actually, it surprised me. It's a lot more different. I kind of heard the murmurings that they were trying to keep it similar and not make too many changes with this appointment. He switched up how they're playing football. Like they are moving the ball really well. So it depends for me. I still look at their squad and think if they can keep their first 11 fit, it's good enough to beat anyone in the league on its day. Will they be able to do that? I'm not sure. There are some areas for me that are glaringly weak in their team. I think holding midfield, they need to do something about that.
They don't have one.
They don't really, do they? They've got Endo, and I just don't think
they got Endo. And
Endo,
HUSAM the other day said that Endo himself on a podcast said that they need a DM. The starting DM said that they need a DM, which is it's alarming.
Do you know what? Endo is a leader. And that's one reason why I think they brought him in and he did well is because is he the captain of Japan and he came in as a leader?
I think so.
I think he's going to be honest. He's going to say, look, if we want this team to win, we need probably more options and quality in here. I believe they'll sign someone. I think the way I expect Liverpool to act now under Edwards is quietly under the radar and they'll announce a deal. I think they still haven't replaced Sadio Mane's goals. In that team, whether that's a left winger, whether it's a striker that puts up the numbers, they need someone to put up numbers alongside Salah, and Nunez and Diaz haven't been able to do it. Jota's done it when fit, but it's not enough. They had Firmino, Salah and Mane putting up amazing numbers for a good few years. I don't think they've been able to replace Mane's numbers. I think they've replaced Firmino's and they've still got Salah's. If they can do that, I think they're okay. A lot of Liverpool fans are screaming out to me about left back. They're okay with Robertson for another season. I understand what they're saying, but if he stays fit, I think they're okay. I think they're okay there. Defensively, with what they've got in Van Dijk, Quansah, Konate, Matip, is he still there? That's probably okay as well. Right back, Trent and Bradley, keeper-wise with Addison, they're okay. If they can address those two areas, they could put up a better challenge than they did last year, but they need to do that. Yeah. Right now, I don't expect them to finish higher than third.
Osimhen to Arsenal thoughts. Matthew, it's not happening, my friend. It is not. It's not happening. He's not going to Arsenal. Arsenal aren't paying that much money for him, and they aren't paying his wages. And it doesn't look like Arteta wants Osimhen and the team. I think they're out of the race. Matthew. So I don't think that is happening at all. But listen, people, we're going to keep this short. Dan's channel is in the description. Let's get, guys, there is 50 likes away from 200 likes, and we still have over 300 people here. This has been an entertaining and amazing show, but you guys are slacking. The like button looks like thumbs up underneath the live chat. It helps the show. It helps the channel massively, massively. Hit that like button underneath the live chat. Thank you for everyone that supported the channel. Sent a super chat. Appreciate you guys. And also, Dan's channel is in the description. Me and Dan, I had a talk with Dan before the show about him doing regular daily shows on his channel. So go and support him. You guys, listen, when you guys watch a channel, it encourages people to do more streams and more shows. So go and subscribe to Dan. I know that a lot of Chelsea fans think, you're not optimistic. He's realistic, which is different. You have to actually understand that there are opinions that are different than yours. Same as Liverpool fans. Some of them agree with stuff that people say, some don't. So Dan's channel is in the description. It's one click away from your subscription. It is simple and it doesn't cost you a penny. Hit that like button underneath your live chat. This show will take you to HUSAM when he's talking transfers as well. This is football. And I want to thank Dan as a brilliant chat, my friend. Absolutely amazing, brilliant chat. Hopefully we'll see you in the National League on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. And that would be good after the games. Good luck today with Chelsea against Real Madrid. And we'll see you guys soon. We're out of here, people.
Yeah, pleasure, Mo.